Files. All right, let's open up one of the greatest, coldest case files of all time. We're talking about a 150-year-old maritime mystery that's got everything: sea monsters, pirates, conspiracies, and a few leaky barrels. Our job here is to follow the evidence, and I mean all of it, wherever it leads.
So picture this. It's December 4th, 1872. You're on a ship, the Dei Gratia, sailing in the middle of the Atlantic, and you spot another vessel just drifting. Its sails are all wrong, and it's moving aimlessly, like a ghost ship. The captain looks through her spyglass and recognizes it. It's the Mary Celeste. But that's impossible. She should be in Italy by now.
For 2 hours, they watch, they shout. Nothing. No one appears on deck. Finally, they send a small party over to board the ship, and what they find is summed up in these 3 absolutely chilling words that launched a legend. The ship was completely, silently empty.
And that right there is the question that's haunted us for a century and a half. A perfectly good ship, stocked with supplies, just empty. 10 people, including the captain, his wife, and their little 2-year-old daughter, gone. So we're not just telling a spooky story here, we're opening an investigation.
Okay, so let's start at the scene of the crime. What did that boarding party actually find when they went below deck? Because this is where it gets really weird. The unsettling part isn't what was wrong with the ship, but just how much was strangely right.
I mean, check out this list. 6 months of food and water. All their personal belongings, money, clothes, valuables, still there. They even left behind the wife's organ and the little girl's toys. But, and this is the first huge clue, the ship's only lifeboat was missing. So they didn't just vanish. They left, deliberately. The real question is, why?
Well, before we can even begin to answer that, we have to do some serious cleanup. See, this case file's contaminated. It's been buried for over 100 years under a mountain of myths and straight-up fiction. It's time to separate the legend from the logbook.
And here's our prime suspect for all that misinformation. Yep, that Arthur Conan Doyle. Years before he dreamed up Sherlock Holmes, he wrote this sensational, totally fictional story about the ship. It was a huge hit, and pretty soon, people couldn't tell the difference between his story and the real facts.
Let's bust some myths, rapid fire. First up, the name. Conan Doyle called it the Marie Celeste. Sounds a little more mysterious, right? But it's wrong. Every official court document, every record, calls her by her real name, the Mary Celeste.
Now for the big one. You've probably heard this, that they found warm food still on the table, as if the crew vanished mid-meal. It's super creepy. It's also a complete lie. The sworn testimony from the actual sailors who boarded the ship, they said the stove was cold and there was absolutely no food out anywhere.
And this one is maybe the most important lie of all. The myths love to say that all the lifeboats were still on board, making the disappearance seem impossible. The reality? The Mary Celeste had exactly 1 lifeboat, and the court records are crystal clear. It was gone. This changes everything. It means they had a way off the ship. They left.
All right, with all the fiction thrown overboard, we can finally start our real investigation. It's time to line up the usual suspects, all the wild theories and monsters, and see if any of them actually hold up against the evidence.
Okay, suspect number 1, the Kraken, a giant squid attack. And hey, before you laugh, giant squids are 100% real. They're out there. So could a sea monster be our culprit?
No. This theory falls apart pretty quick. A creature big enough to pull 10 people off the deck would have shredded the ship's rigging and probably smashed the hull. But the Mary Celeste was found in near-perfect condition. And let's be honest, a squid can't pick the lock on a cabinet, take out the ship's charts, and then neatly lower a lifeboat into the water. So, case dismissed. So if it wasn't a sea monster, maybe it was a human one. The official inquiry way back in 1872 took 2 possibilities very seriously: pirates or a bloody mutiny where the crew killed the captain and his family. But again, these theories just don't fit the crime scene. Pirates? They steal stuff. That's their whole deal. Yet nothing of value is taken. A mutiny. You might think the crew got drunk, but the cargo wasn't rum. It was poisonous industrial alcohol. Plus, the ship was weirdly neat. There were no signs of a fight, anywhere.
This leaves one last foul play theory, and it's a juicy one. The prosecutor at the salvage hearing was convinced that Captain Morehouse and his crew, the guys who found the ship, were actually the murderers, killing everyone to claim the salvage money.
But once again, the facts just get in the way of a good conspiracy. The prosecutor pointed to bloodstains on a sword, but a quick scientific test proved it was just rust. And after a 3-month investigation, the court found absolutely zero evidence of any wrongdoing. It seems all the monster theories, human or otherwise, are a bust.
So if it wasn't a monster, what was it? Well, the answer isn't in some big, sensational story. It's hidden in the small, almost boring details of the ship itself. The cargo, the equipment. We just have to look closer.
The entire investigation, it turns out, hinges on this number, 9. Out of over 1,700 barrels of alcohol in the cargo hold, 9 of them were found empty. And the investigators at the time noted something incredibly specific. Those 9 barrels were made of porous, red oak, while all the intact barrels were made of sturdier, white oak. This, right here, is our smoking gun.
Now you're probably thinking, okay, so some alcohol leaked and exploded. Where's the fire damage? Well, this is the craziest part. In 2006, a scientist recreated the conditions in a lab, and when the alcohol vapor ignited, it created a massive whoosh, a terrifying boom and a pressure wave, but it burned out so fast it didn't even scorch a piece of paper. The ship's pristine condition isn't evidence against an explosion, it's the exact signature this kind of blast would leave.
So let's put it all together. First, one of the ship's water pumps was clogged. This means Captain Briggs is sailing through a storm, totally blind to how much water is in his hold. He's already worried about sinking. Then, from the hold comes this terrifying boom. He doesn't know it's harmless. He thinks his ship, full of flammable alcohol, is about to become a giant fireball. So he makes a very rational decision, a temporary evacuation. This explains everything. They take the navigation gear because they plan to follow the ship, they leave their valuables because they plan to come right back, and they trail the lifeboat on a long rope. A rope that, in one tragic gust of wind, snaps. And just like that, they're left behind, watching their perfectly safe ship sail away without them.
So there it is, the most logical, evidence-based solution to the Mary Celeste mystery. But how do you feel right now? Are you satisfied? Or are you maybe just a little bit disappointed? Because that feeling brings us to the final piece of this puzzle. The real mystery isn't about the ship, it's about the story.
You see, there's this little glitch in our brains called proportionality bias. It's a mental shortcut that tells us that a huge, dramatic event has to have a huge, dramatic cause. A small, boring, logical cause just feels wrong. It doesn't feel proportional.
And this illustrates it perfectly. On one side, you have the event, a massive 150-year-old ghost ship legend. The cause we wanted to have, giant squids, pirates, a vast conspiracy. That feels right. But the truth? A leaky barrel and a clogged pump. It's mundane. It's unsatisfying. The mystery lives on not because we don't have the answers, but because the real answer just isn't a very good story.
So when you really look at it, the clues have been there all along. And the real question we should be asking isn't, what happened to the Mary Celeste? It's, why do we need it to be a mystery? Why, after 150 years of evidence, do we still want to believe in the monster? That's a mystery you'll have to solve for yourself.